Hello everyone and welcome to game week 1 of the 24-25 Optegra Championship here at the Lee Westwood Sports Centre, where you join myself, Ryan Sipple, with co-commentator Dean Williams for the penultimate game of the weekend on Court B, which we contested between Teesside Steel and Muscle Warriors. Muscle Warriors currently top of the tables, having secured 4 wins from 4. Let's go through the squads quickly, show you the table, and then bring you the action live. Teesside Steel comprised of Charlie Connolly, Jamil Khan, Thomas Met, Isaac Murray, Luke Heenan, and Oscar Mulgrew. Their coach, Graham Mulgrew. And Muscle Warriors, absolutely faultless thus far. Number 1, Mitchell Goslin. New signing, Hannah Hindley, has been a revelation in goal. Number 7, Jacob Vickers, likewise, has just come to life in the 24-25 campaign, netting 6 goals in the process of their 4 games. Number 9, Shay Murray. Number 10 is Stanley Ball, another young superstar with 3 goals to his name in his debut National League weekend. The same can be applied to George Shippey. 2 goals across Muscle Warriors 4 games. Parth Gakwad and Rikin Shah complete their lineup. The central referee for this one will be Paul Yates. Exact starting squads: Isaac Murray, Oscar Mulgrew, Thomas Met and Jamil Khan, Hannah Hindley, Rikin Shah, Jacob Vickers and Shay Murray. Dean, how are you?
Very good, thanks, Rob. I'm looking forward to this one. Yeah. With an eye on the other court as well, because that's another big matchup.
Yeah, huge matchup. GBG Knights versus Leeds Dynamos. Also live across the WFA's YouTube. Commentary brought to you live from Lucas Veza O'Brien for anyone wanted to tune into that one. And just to give a little bit of context, a few seconds into this, bring the top 6 table up of the 24-25 Championship campaign. You'll see Muscle Warriors taking into consideration a point here with this current 0-0 scoreline on 13 points. Manchester United finished the weekend on 10, but GBG Knights with a potential 3-point could go up to 12 points, so they would need a Teesside Steel win here, and they would need to secure victory themselves to end game week 1 at the Summit. But early pressure from Muscle Warriors signals their statement of intent. Little conversation with coach Alan Murray just prior to the game kicking off. I think he was a little frustrated with their earlier performance, in which they won, worth noting, when they came up against a resilient Sale United. That one finished 1-0. It's just that relative comparison to how they performed yesterday. They were sensational. 3 games played. They opened their season against Nottingham Forest. That one finished 5-0 before beating AFC Bournemouth Warriors 4-0 and a 2-0 victory over Villa Rockets Lions. They're yet to concede. So they are almost certain to be favourites in this one. Teesside Steel, a difficult start to game week 1. They started with a 0-0 draw against Manchester United. I say difficult. If you apply the context, Manchester United currently 2nd in the table. Teesside Steel, the only team to manage to secure any points of Manchester United, who look fairly hot on the pursuit of regaining their Premiership status. That followed a 1-0 victory over Leeds Dynamos, a frustrating 1-1 draw against Villa Rockets. This Lions come before this game against Muscle Warriors. So both bring really good form into their final game of the weekend. Hannah Hindley on the ball now, recently transferred from Leeds Dynamos. I believe she's played pretty much every minute of Muscle Warriors for games so far, already establishing herself as such a key component to Alan Murray's side. On to watch, of course, Jacob Vickers has surpassed his goal tally of the previous 2 seasons already in game week 1 of the 24-25 Optegra Championship.
Has he got a goal bonus, do you think?
Hannah Hindley into Jacob Vickers. The right intent there. Jamil Khan was limiting the space of Jacob Vickers, but he reversed down the line, nearly keeping it in play. Fairly open in the opening 4 minutes. Should there be any goals on court A, I will ensure you are brought up to speed as the ball from court B rolls through the gap in the court partition onto a very active and live court A match. Paul Yates, as mentioned, our central referee, is complemented by the experience of Mark Kerrison and Millie Bean. Jamil Khan down to Oscar Mulgrew, over to the poacher Thomas Met, tries to squeeze the ball between Hindley and Rikin Shah. Conversations with Thomas Met between games, sets his target on double digits. He finished the last season on 10, and there was a real good opportunity there to get his 2nd of the season. He'll be disappointed he wasn't able to capitalise, but the way Teesside still were able to carve out that opportunity, probably the most threat that Muscle Warriors have faced all weekend.
Poacher's going to stick, do you think?
I think it's the perfect title for his style of football. Very active, very lively, puts himself in some really good positions. Just having that anticipation that the ball can come over to him at any given time with any given speed. Very open this game. Both teams are going for it, and that's already proven to be a really good spectacle. But Teesside still growing in stature, probably the better of the 2 teams. If he was pressed for an answer. Only 6 minutes played though. Teesside still 0, Muscle Warriors 0. You're joining myself, Ryan Sipple and Dean Williams for the penultimate game of action in game week 1 of the Optegra Championship. Vickers into Rikin Shah, blocked by Jamil Khan. That trademark blue bobble hat. Vickers into Rikin Shah, very congested, a very small triangle comprised of Murray, Vickers and Shah. They just expand. Hannah Hindley to block the advancing Jamil Khan. Thomas Met just trying to find the gap to switch wings, which he does so, but Jamil Khan drives straight over onto the right, so he has to adjust. He hasn't quite caught the fact that he's now onto the left, so very lively, active play. Thomas Met has to be very in tune with what's happening around him, which he does so brilliantly. Out of play for a Teesside steel ball.
Good interception from Hindley. That's what she does very well.
Yeah, such a good player. Off the front of Vickers' chair. Neil Khan to take. Very effective dead ball specialist. Nice angling from Oscar Mulgrew just to send it over to Thomas Met. Jacob Vickers just obstructing that passing lane between Mulgrew and Khan. But Warriors struggling to break this high press. Isaac Murray now in the half of Muscle Warriors. So he's looking to contribute in attack as well. I set him the challenge of doing so. Said in certain passages of play, Teesside still can create them overloads if they're brave with committing Isaac Murray forward. Double substitute for Muscle Warriors sees Parth Gakwad and George Shippey enter the action. Confirmation of that first substitute. George Shippey competing at his first ever National League weekend. The young number 11 on loan from Sevenoaks Power Chair Football Club. Parth Gakwad to take. Into the side of Jacob Vickers' chair. Alan Murray encouraged with what George Shippey is doing on the far right hand side. Just avoiding them 2-on-1s and just being ready to receive that ball. Already brilliant to see him staying in reverse, opening up the whole court's visibility. That field of vision much improved as he guides the ball back to Jacob Vickers. Jacob Vickers to take. Parth Gakwad very close, probably just out of shot in his bottom left-hand corner. Across the face of goal into the side of Isaac Murray's chair. 8.5 minutes remaining. Teesside still nil. Muscle Warriors nil. Jacob Vickers. George Shippey in support, as is Parth Gakwad more central. Shippey with a pick-off back to Parth Gakwad. Pass from Mulgrew, bypasses Parth Gakwad all the way back to Hannah Hindley. Ricochet from Jacob Vickers calls Isaac Murray into defensive duties. Patient play from both players. Isaac Murray just shows his hand there, guides it out of play so Teesside still can readjust and regain their defensive stability. Jacob Vickers to take. Parth Gakwad between the chairs of Khan and Murray. Maybe will act as a screen if the accuracy can be put on this ball from Jacob Vickers over to George Shippey. A lot easier said than done as it is fired into the side of Isaac Murray's chair, not once but twice. He's just going to try and cushion that off the back bumper of Isaac Murray to win his team a corner. Doesn't quite reach the baseline. Out for a Muscle Warriors kick in. Khan into Mulgrew, back to Path Gakwad. George Shippey does brilliantly just to guide it down that channel. The right as you're viewing it, the left of Muscle Warriors. Potential gap there for Path Gakwad in between the right hand post and Oscar Mulgrew. He opted to go more central. As mentioned, this the penultimate game of the day on Court B. Next up, Manchester City versus Nottingham Forest. And on Court A, Hull and East Yorkshire take on West Bromwich Albion Dudley. 6 weeks or so to wait for the next bout of National League football, proudly sponsored by Optegra. I think the 27th and 28th of October, we are back for the first instalment of the 24-25 Premiership. Very different looking Premiership. 3 different teams than that of the 23-24 season, with 3 promoted clubs in Greenbank, Middlesbrough and Norwich City. Add to that the countless number of individual transfers means it's very intriguing to see how things play out. I know West Brom, Aspire, Newcastle, Teesside have all seen changes amongst their squads. Some key players departing, others coming in. Final 4 minutes. Muscle Warriors edging their way down the court. Good opportunity here. Vickers to take. Path Gakwad probably the recipient of this. Guides it goal bound. Oscar Mulgrew alert. Ushers it out of play.
Not just in scoreline, what a very even first half.
Yeah.
Literally nothing in the game, is there?
No, very much so. As we get another corner, once again cleared by Oscar Mulgrew. There's been
like a train of defence.
Yeah, a lot of teams utilise that sort of defensive wall. Does leave a potential gap behind Oscar Mulgrew, though, that have to be considerate of. Likewise, the gap between Mulgrew and Murray. It needs the accuracy of the kick-in taker, which he didn't have on that occasion. The deadlock has been broken on Court A. GBG Knights continue their fine form. They are 1-0 up against Leeds Dynamos. So if we bring up the live league standings for the top 6 teams of the 24-25 Optegra Championship, you will see what that does to standings. Muscle Warriors, of course, would have played a game more than GBG Knights across the entirety of game week 1, but if GBG Knights can sit just 1 point behind with a game in hand, they'll be very happy with their performances. Obviously, Muscle Warriors in action here, going to want to try and influence this performance and change this 1 point currently into 3. They have 22 or so minutes to do so. Late double substitute sees Shay Murray and Rickenshaw come back into action. So Hannah Hindley truly is the only constant in this Muscle Warriors side. Must be really nice for Alan Murray to have that ability to alter, to experiment. We've seen teams such as Sale United and Manchester United enter game week 1 with just the 4 players. George Shippey way too close to action there, caught unaware. And that's just that little lack of experience. The pace of football so much faster than that of regionally based football, certainly the level in which George has played. Just maintaining that concentration and alertness every second you're on the court. Thomas Met's going to have a chance here. Nearly squeezes it in that right-hand post. Hannah Hindley had it covered in the end. Teesside still certainly in clear-cut chances have been the better of the two teams.
I'd agree with that. Not much in it, but they've created the better opportunities for certain.
Opportunity here. Thomas Met's going to follow up the effort. Ricocheted off Rickenshaw's chair. Regulation 20 has been played. Paul Yates just takes a glance at his watch. Thomas Met desperately trying to break the deadlock. Goes out to the right. Oscar Mulgrew waiting on the edge. He's going to attempt an effort goal. Over to Jamil Khan. Rotated spin kick. The ball fires high over the partition between courts.
Great block by Hindley again.
Very much so, signalling the end of action in the first half. Teesside still 0, Muscle Warriors 0. Just show the league standings, the live league standings as they sit currently. So you can see what results on Court A and Court B do to the overall table. Muscle Warriors would be dropping points in this one, but would maintain that position in first. GBG Knights, 4 wins from 4, 21 goals scored. So prolific scorers in game week 1, only conceded 2. But thank you once again to everyone tuning in. Myself and Dean will be back for the action in the second half very shortly. Hello everyone and welcome back to the second half of Teesside Steel versus Muscle Warriors in game week 1 of the 2024-25 Optegra Championship here at the Lee Westwood Sports Centre, where you join myself, Ryan Sipple, and my co-commentator Dean Williams for the action. The National League for the 24-25 season, proudly sponsored by Optegra, including both Premiership and Championship divisions. They're a leading eye care specialist that focus on treatments that enhance visions and help improve quality of life. Their participation with the WFA demonstrates their commitment to not only supporting eye health but also backing initiatives that make a real difference in people's lives. By sponsoring the National League, they're helping to ensure that power chair football continues to grow, offering more opportunities for players to compete at the highest level, which we've certainly seen across game week 1. Some standout performers, some new stars. What a weekend it's been. This is the penultimate game on Court B. Just one final game scheduled for 5 minutes past 3 in the first half. These two just seem to cancel one another out. Certainly in the centre of the court. Attacking chances, more so for Teesside Steel than that of Muscle Warriors. So just shows that their current placement in the league standings at this early stage can't be used as that be-all and end-all barometer. As Jacob Vickers fires the goal in. Just as I was saying that, I was going to go on to talk about the fact that Teesside Steel were outperforming where they currently are placed in the standings. But that man there, having one of the best weekends in recent memory, opens the scoring to put Muscle Warriors 1-0 up. It was great passing patterns between Rickenshaw and Path Gakwad, finished by the man in form, Jacob Vickers, without a shadow of a doubt will be in contention for the standout player of the weekend. Confirmation on your screens now. Teesside Steel have a lot of work to do because they've come out the traps with some real vigour, Muscle Warriors. And now if we bring up the live league standings, certainly for the top 6 teams, you will see that that cements them as the leading force in the Championship division with a 3-point margin over second placed GBG Knights, and they're looking to expand on that now. Jacob Vickers with the corner kick, feints to take it. Out to Rickenshaw. Really is nice stuff. They've definitely experimented. I wonder if this is by design. Path Gakwad actually operating in the centre with Rickenshaw, that high and wide winger on the right. It was them passing patterns that led to the space being created and the chance being scored.
Just to raise your attention, I've got a sneaky feeling that Alan just looked across, Muscle Warriors coach, and puffed out his cheeks, and then seems to be indicating that he's listening to our stream. Let's see if he looks over.
There's a slight delay, so if he is, it won't be for a few seconds yet, but Oscar Mulgrew now desperately trying to break this persistent press of Muscle Warriors, controlled by the recently substituted Luke Heenan. Jamil Khan has left the court. But I'm not quite sure what was said at the halftime break but it certainly made it an impression on them 4 players of Muscle Warriors. Jacob Vickers there, I think there's a visible sign of frustration on his face. That ball from Parth Gakwad was absolutely sensational. Threaded the eye of the needle with some real power and precision. Jacob Vickers nowhere near that top right-hand corner to receive. But Parth Gakwad, certainly in the opening account of this second half, has proved a real thorn in Teesside Steel's side. Vickers into Rikin Shah. Whether it's a coincidence or a matter of fact, Teesside Steel certainly lose a dimension without Jamil Khan, I feel. He provides so much stability and experience.
We mentioned that yesterday, didn't we, when he was on the bench, and ultimately, interesting one that. Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think he has such a dynamic about him. They lose that when he's not on that court.
Substitute for Teesside Steel sees Thomas Met come off. Charlie Connolly comes onto the court. Luke Heenan now. It's a very fluid system from Muscle Warriors. Just referencing the fact that Parth Gakwad was in that central pivot role and distributing out to either winger, but at any one time it can be Vickers in the centre or Rikin Shah. It's the dynamism of that approach that keeps the opposition on their toes. But also needs that constant communication, understanding and chemistry from the three outfield players of Muscle Warriors. As Rikin Shah just traps it in the side of Isaac Murray. Really vocal support from both Alan Murray and Hannah Hindley. One thing is for certain, team of the weekend will be a really intriguing one to see. There's 3, if not 4 players currently on this court that could stake a claim to be present in that squad. Likewise with players on court A. Looks like as if GBG Knight still leads Dynamos by a goal to 0, as we have a momentary lapse, certainly in momentum, as Rikin Shah just plays it off of Isaac Murray to keep the ball live. If the ball stops rolling, a set ball will resume play. That's why you can see Paul Yates overseeing that very closely, but Rikin Shah's experience to just wind down the clock here will frustrate things. If I'm Teesside Steel and I'm Oscar Mulgrew, I'm just driving this out of play. I'd rather deal with the corner and play to be live again than minutes be wasted away. This won't result in a goal.
I think that's nearly a minute.
That is, and I think they'll be far better dealing with the corner kick than this continual pressure on that right-hand post. Play eventually stopped. I think it's a goal kick. Hard to distinguish between the lines from mine and Dean's angle, but set ball, however, will resume play.
You say Rikin Shah showing lots of experience there to do exactly where he wanted it.
Yeah. Hannah Hindley, always typically a very smiley player, but she's playing with great confidence and a massive grin on her face, which is amazing to see as Jacob Vickers takes control of that Rickenshaw ball.
It's one of my abiding memories of when I first came to watch this, which you kindly invited me to. This is your fault why I'm here, Ryan. When you said, come and have a look at this sport, and I turned up, and Hannah, of course, playing for Leeds Dynamos at the time, but I always remember that very infectious smile that she had. That's one of my abiding memories.
I have to say, barring late drama, I think I'm going to vote for Hannah Hindley as the standout player of game week 1. The interactive polls go live at the conclusion of our final game, around about 4 o'clock. But just to come into a new squad only a couple of weeks ago, it was a very late acquisition for Alan Murray and Muscle Warriors. I believe Hannah Hindley is accessing educational opportunities nearer London, so sought opportunities to continue her football down south. She just slotted in seamlessly. She's played every minute of Muscle Warriors, 5 games thus far, and has been solid as a rock. Hasn't seen one single go past her. As Jamil Khan re-enters the action in place of Luke Heenan.
This might give them a bit more impetus.
They've got 9 minutes to figure out the puzzle that is Muscle Warriors. They haven't conceded a goal at all this weekend, so can Teesside do what none others have been able to do so? Over to Jacob Vickers, looking to return the pass to Rickenshaw, well adjusted and angled by Oscar Mulgrew. Jamil Khan straight back into the thick of things, trying to deal with Parth Gakwad, having a brilliant half of football. Nice distribution, switch of play, the accuracy not quite on the pass from Rickenshaw. Parth Gakwad in so much space, can see that frustration from Alan Murray. He spotted the option. Now Jacob Vickers operating in the centre, and that, again, that fluidity in system nearly leads to Rickenshaw having an opportunity. I think he was a little bit overzealous, making contact with that ball, trapping it between himself and Isaac Murray. Contact foul, direct free kick. Teesside still, who trail Muscle Warriors by a goal to 0. Poor pass from Parth Gakwad. He has to be very careful there. Had Jamil Khan been more set, he could have forced an effort on goal. One thing is for certain, Muscle Warriors aren't sitting on this 1 goal scoreline. They're looking to add further damage.
Best form of defence, as they say. Yes. Teesside still struggling to get going, aren't they? They really are. Long weekend, first weekend back.
I would be inclined to agree that it's a long weekend, and things such as fatigue and concentration levels can deteriorate, but worth considering that Muscle Warriors have played a game more than Teesside Steel. 5-game weekend for them, 4-game weekend for Teesside Steel. We make a substitute. Thomas Met back on in place of Charlie Connolly, so arguably their strongest starting 4 back on the court, certainly the one that started this fixture. GBG Knights still leads Dynamos by a goal to nil. They're 5.5 minutes away from capping a faultless weekend. 4 wins from 4. The exact same has Muscle Warriors here to make it 5 wins from 5. Jacob Vickers with an attempt at goal. Just draws Oscar Mulgrew in. Times his rotated spin kick to try and figure out some space and a gap in that Teesside Steel goal line. I believe 2-on-1. Set ball actually will resume play. Whether the ball was trapped or not live, Rickenshaw gets the better of Oscar Mulgrew and locks it up in that top left-hand corner. He's so proficient in just winding the clock down, as we've seen across this half.
Tremendous second half he's had, Rickenshaw.
He's a tremendous player. He made the decision to leave Aspire in the summer of 2022, I believe, and make the step down to Muscle Warriors. And he's been such a key component in their side ever since. Growing in confidence, produces goals, defensive stability. He's the all-round player, really. We saw him provide a beautiful assist a few moments ago. That was when he was operating as a high and wide winger. So the versatility that he has as well is a real asset to Alan Murray and Muscle Warriors. As Stanley Ball comes on in place of Parth Gakwad. It just pushes it over to the man in question, Rickenshaw.
So is that where he used to play at Aspire? Forgive me.
Used to play at Aspire.
But as a winger?
Typically, I believe, yeah.
The only reason I ask is he's looked in lots of opportunities for them this half. He's looked very comfortable in that position out wide, keeping the ball, making it very difficult for Teesside Steel to get a grip on the game.
So, confirm Rickenshaw joined for the 22-23 season as Stanley Ball tries to find the gap between Isaac Murray and that left-hand post. Almost certainly a second goal for Muscle Warriors, hadn't it been for some brilliant defending from Teesside Steel. I was going to say Rickenshaw joined in the 22-23 season, scored 12 goals across Muscle Warriors' campaign last year. Not quite as prolific, 9 finishes across their 22 fixtures. Final 2 minutes of play. Teesside Steel 0, Muscle Warriors 1.
I can confirm that Alan is listening to music, otherwise he's dancing to our commentary, which would be a first, Ryan, I think.
Whilst we're talking about Muscle Warriors so highly and the fact that they're set to secure maximum points from their 5 fixtures, we still have a minute and a half to play. And only 1 goal separates these two teams. Can Teesside Steel pull off a miracle here and find that equaliser? Stanley Ball is going to try and drive towards an open net, not before 2-on-1, awarded in Teesside Steel's favour, head in the hands of Alan Murray, who thought his side were almost certain to go up the other end and force Isaac Murray into some sort of defensive duty. Indirect free kick. We are now in the final minute, Dean, so think about your player of the match if you would please.
Chance for the poacher here, perhaps.
Absolutely there is. All the way to Oscar Mulgrew. I think the better option would have been to leave that to Thomas Met, but the ball and danger still present. Stanley Ball guides it, Goldman. Brilliant angling of his chair there. Had he got that wrong, it could have very much gone back into his own defensive half. He ricochets it back to Shah on the edge. Jacob Vickers finds the gap to secure 3 points. And his second goal of the game. They just capitalised on Teesside still going up and trying to force an equaliser. But my God, what a weekend for Muscle Warriors. They've been absolutely sensational. It's that man Rickenshaw once again providing the assist. And Jacob Vickers with one of the most prolific weekends he has ever had. Confirmation of that goal on your screens now. I'll bring up the live league standings and top goal scorer chart at the full-time whistle, but I think that puts Jacob Vickers back, if not joint top, after game week 1, as Oscar Mulgrew tries to find the gap in the defensive structure of Muscle Warriors. He's unable to do so. And what a professional performance from Muscle Warriors. 5 wins from 5, 2-0 scoreline, which sees them score, I think, 13 goals without reply. Incredible stuff.
And that's a seamless link to my player of the match. Because actually, I think from a performance perspective in the second half from Muscle Warriors, what a performance that was. But I'm going to give that to player of the match to Hannah Hindley, because I thought in the first half there were definitely in the ascendancy, Teesside still, and there were a number of blocks that she made. And the fact that it's about the game, but over the whole weekend to not concede a goal, she's been tremendous.
You know how highly I speak of her, and we referenced her in that game to provide that defensive stability and foundation for the team to build upon. 14 goals, I apologise, scored without reply, leaves them on 15 points from 5 games. GBG Knights were able to get 3 points over the line, so a faultless weekend for them as well. We could bring up the top goal scorer charts with 2 games left to be played, but George Holloway on 9, so Jacob Vickers just trailing by 1. So fantastic stuff from Jacob Vickers. George Holloway and Riley Priestley in 1, 2 and 3, all very unlikely positions. Don't typically register as many goals as they have, but full credit to them. Fantastic to see. What a division. Thank you to all that have tuned in, to myself and Dean for this one. Next up on Court B, the one in which we are currently on, you can see Hull and East Yorkshire against West Bromwich Albion Dudley. Thank you all.